Last night you were unconscious for around 8 hours. You cannot remember 1 minute of it. And yet those may have been the busiest hours your body had all day. So here is a question almost nobody stops asking. If you were in bed for 8 hours, how many of those hours did your body get to use? Because those are two completely different numbers. And after 60, the gap between them gets wider. A quick note before we go on. This video is general information only. It is not medical advice. Please speak with your own doctor about anything to do with your sleep. There is a belief repeated so often that most men over 60 simply accept it. Older people need less sleep. Waking at 4 in the morning is just part of getting older. 5 or 6 hours are fine now. The National Institute on Aging says otherwise. Older adults need about the same amount of sleep as every other adult, 7 to 9 hours a night. The need did not shrink. What changed is that your body has a harder time getting it. That one sentence changes everything about how you should think about your nights. So here's what we are going to do. We are going to walk through a single night, from the moment you close your eyes to the moment you open them, for stages, in order, and what each one is doing for you. Then, at the end, the one change that protects the whole night. And it is not a bedtime change. It happens in the morning, and almost nobody guesses it. Let us start with what happens in the first 90 minutes. But first, why do any of these matters now than it did at 40? At 40, sleep was forgiving. You had a bad night, you were tired, and by Wednesday you had forgotten about it. Your body caught up on its own. That catching up is what changes. The National Institute on Aging describes it clearly. As you age, sleep gets shorter and lighter, you wake more often, and the time spent at each stage goes down. Add in medications, aches, and a bladder that now has opinions, and the night breaks into pieces. Here is the part that matters. Sleep is not one thing. It is 4 different jobs, done in a fixed order, each needing a stretch of uninterrupted time to finish. Break the night into pieces, and you simply do not get less sleep. You get an incomplete version of it. Some jobs finish. Others get cut off halfway. That is why a man can spend 8 hours in bed and still wake feeling like he barely slept. He got the hours. He did not get the work. So, let us look at the work. The first 90 minutes. The repair shift. You close your eyes. Within about half an hour, you sink into the deepest sleep of the entire night. Forget the technical name. Think of it as the maintenance crew arriving after the building closes. Harvard Health describes what happens here. You are breathing slowly. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure drops. Your muscles go completely soft. And while all of that is happening, your tissues regenerate and your body releases hormones it releases at almost no other time. Read that list again, slowly. Blood pressure drops. Tissue repair. Hormone release. That is your heart getting a rest it gets nowhere else in the 24 hours. That is the small daily damage to your muscles and joints being patched up. That is the reason a grueling day of yard work hurts less on Wednesday than it did on Tuesday night. And here is the important part. This deep sleep is front-loaded. The biggest share comes in the first stretch of the night, the first 90 minutes to 3 hours. It does not wait for you. It does not come back later to make up for lost time. So, if you doze off in front of the television at 9, wake at 11, and go to bed properly at 11:30, you have already spent some of your best deep sleep sitting upright in a chair. Now, here is the part nobody warns you about. Deep sleep is the stage that shrinks most with age. It fades gradually, decade by decade. That is not a disease. That is simply what happens to human beings. Which means the deep sleep you do get is more valuable now than it has ever been. You have less of it, so protecting the front of your night matters more than it did at 40. And what happens next, in the middle of the night, is the part that most men over 60 quietly worry about. The middle of the night. The filing clerk. Somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning, your brain starts a different job. During the day, everything new that happens to you gets dropped into one area of the brain. A conversation with your daughter. Where you put the car keys. The name of the new neighbor. Harvard Health describes this area as having limited storage. It is a desk, not a filing cabinet. And by evening, that desk is covered. At night, your brain sorts it. It goes through the pile. Most gets thrown out because you do not need to remember what you ate for breakfast last Tuesday. The rest moves from the desk into long-term storage, where it can be pulled out years later. Here is why this matters more than anything else in this video. Every man over 60 has had that moment. You are in the middle of a sentence, and the word is not there. The name of the actor. The name of the street you drove down for 30 years. It arrives 4 hours later, unhelpfully, while you are brushing your teeth. And a small, quiet fear goes through you. Now, let me be careful and clear here, because this matters. I am not diagnosing anything, and nobody on the internet can. If your memory is worrying you, that belongs in front of a doctor, not a video. But it is worth knowing this. When you are tired, it is harder to pay attention. And attention is what puts information onto that desk in the first place. If it never reached the desk, there was nothing to file. The word was never lost. It was never professionally written down. So, some of what feels like memory failure is attention failure. And attention failure often traces straight back to the night before. That is not a promise, and it is not a cure. It is just a possibility worth knowing about because it is one of the few possibilities you can do something about tonight. Then, toward morning comes the stage most people get robbed of. Just before dawn, the stage you keep cutting short. As the night goes on, the balance shifts. Deep sleep gets shorter. Dreaming sleep gets longer. The longest, richest stretch of dream sleep in your entire night comes in the last couple of hours before you wake. 5 in the morning. 6. That final stretch. Harvard Health notes that this is the most closely tied to memory. It is where the newly filed information gets connected to everything you already know. It is not just storage. It is the wiring. Now think about a quite common pattern after 60. You wake up at 4:30. You lie there for 20 minutes. You are annoyed. You think, well, I am up now. So, you get up, make the coffee, and start the day. You just walked out during the final act. Those last 2 hours you skipped were not spare hours. They were the ones carrying the most dreaming sleep of the whole night. And this is a large part of why a man can go to bed at 9, be awake by 5, count 8 hours, and still feel foggy at 11 in the morning. He got the hours. He missed the ending. I want to be gentle about this because waking early is not a personal failure. Your body clock genuinely shifts earlier with age. The National Institute on Aging says so plainly. Older adults tend to go to bed earlier and wake earlier, and that is normal. The mistake is not the early waking. The mistake is getting out of bed at the first sign of it. If you wake up at 4:30, try staying in bed, in the dark, without reaching for the phone or turning on the light. Very often the body finds its way back for another cycle. And if it does not, it does not. But you gave it the chance. One more thing worth saying aloud. If you snore heavily, or if anyone has ever told you that your breathing pauses at night, or if you feel exhausted no matter how many hours you get, please mention it to your doctor. Those are things worth having looked at properly, and they are far more common after 60 than most men realize. The one change. And it happens in the morning. So here it is. The thing I promised you at the start. Everyone tries to fix their sleep at night. Earlier bedtime. Warm milk. No television. Those things are fine, and they help a little. But your night is not built at night. It is built during the day before it. And the single strongest lever you have is the time you get out of bed in the morning. Here's why. Your body runs on an internal clock, and that clock is set by one main signal, which is light reaching your eyes in the morning. 14 to 16 hours after that signal, your body starts preparing for sleep. Not because of the hour on the wall, because of when the clock was set last. So, if you get up at 6 on Monday, 7:30 on Tuesday, and 5:30 on Wednesday, your clock is being reset at a different time every single day. It never learns the pattern. And a clock that does not know the pattern cannot make you properly sleepy at a predictable time. That is why so many men lie awake at 11 feeling wide awake, then feel like a wet rag at 2 in the afternoon. The clock is not broken. It just was never given a routine. So, the change is this, and it is smaller than you expect. Pick one wake-up time. Use it every single day, including weekends. And within an hour of getting up, get your eyes into natural daylight for 10 minutes. That is it. Not bedtime. The wake time. Let the bedtime sort itself out, because it will, usually within a week or two. Two things make it work better. Get some movement into your day, because a body that has not been used has no reason to shut down at night. And keep the last hour before bed dim and slow. The National Institute on Aging also suggests avoiding big meals and a lot of liquid late in the evening. And once more, because it matters, this is general information, not medical advice. Insomnia is genuinely common after 60, and it is treatable. If your sleep has been poor for months, that is a conversation to have with your doctor, not something to manage alone. So, one night, for jobs, the first 90 minutes are the repair shift. Blood pressure drops, tissues mend, hormones are released. It comes early, it does not wait, and it is the part that shrinks most with age. The middle of the night is the filing clerk. Your brain sorts the day, throws out what it does not need, and stores what it does. The hours before dawn are the wiring. The most dreaming sleep of the night sits right there, which is why getting up early, waking up costs you more than it seems. And the fix is not at bedtime. It is one fixed wake-up time and 10 minutes of morning daylight. Now think back to the question I opened with. 8 hours in bed. But how many did your body get to use? That is the real number, and it is the one you can change. Here is what this is finally about. It is about being the man who wakes up before the alarm and feels ready. The man whose name for a thing arrives when he needs it, not 4 hours later. The man who is still sharp at 80, not because he was lucky, but because he gave his brain the 8 hours it kept asking for. Do not change 5 things. Change 1. Pick your wake-up time and keep it for 7 days, weekends included. If this was useful, a like genuinely helps this channel reach other men our age. Subscribe if you would like more of these. And tell me in the comments, what time do you usually wake up, and is it the same every day? I read every one. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.